to the Real Bold Truth Show, this special edition here in the Heart Ministry Radio studio. We are talking about the mentality makeover for teens. I am your host, Chanel Walker-Bailey. My special guest today in the studio is Miss Dana Barnett and the lovely Miss Shayla Dennis. Welcome back to the studio, ladies.
Thank you.
We are talking about, again, the mentality makeover for teenage girls. In the last show that you were here on, we talked about so many different issues when it comes to the impact of teenage girls. And so we wanted to come back on to talk about these, to expand upon your experiences and your testimonies and the things that you have been through as a teenager. Now you both are young adult women. You have a lot of words of wisdom to share, to encourage the hearts of somebody that's watching this show. So, Shayla, I'm going to start with you. Can you share with us a testimony, something that you've been through, that you've conquered, that you've overcome in your teenage years that you can share with the Real Bold Truth audience?
Absolutely. So one major thing in my life, and that I feel a lot of other teens deal with, is not having a father in the house or in their life, or a father figure. And I didn't realize that I was angry with my father, for him not being in my life. And that the reason why a lot of the things in my life happened the way that it did was because he wasn't in my life. Right. So I went through a lot of things, whether it be personal issues or relationships with men and things of that sort. And it actually continued all the way into my adult years. But I told myself, that it wasn't my father. It wasn't, I wasn't angry with him. I was okay. Like, I was fine.
Like you were in denial, right?
It didn't matter that I didn't have a dad, And I kind of just gave up on him and that relationship and just ignored his entire existence.
Right.
And then it got to a point where I actually started to realize you are angry. This is anger, and you do feel neglected. So sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate forgiveness, right? I do know that in certain situations, it is very hard to forgive and to understand things, but sometimes you just have to let things go. Right? Because you can never, it'll take you forever in a lifetime to understand why things happened the way they did. And sometimes it's just easier to just let things go. So I just had to pray, and I just had to ask God, and also understand that my father couldn't be a good father because he didn't have a good father, right? So I would just be continuously blaming the generation before the generation, before, the generation.
And where did that get you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Nowhere, right? So I just had to let it all go, and I just let it all go, and it helped me to reestablish that relationship with my father. And it actually helped me to overcome a lot of other obstacles in my life that I didn't think had anything to do with that, right?
What does that mean, though, to let it all go?
To let it all go, you will never completely forget everything that's happened, right? But just to understand that it had nothing to do with you, okay? So I think to let it all go is to stop blaming yourself and to stop pointing the finger at the other person, right? And just realize that there is a God and there is the devil, right? And the devil will take control of people and make them do things that you have, no comprehension of. But you just have to trust that God is a healer and that he will take control of your life if you let him, and that he will heal you from that hurt supernaturally. I didn't even know that I was being healed through that forgiveness, because you don't see it, but you feel it.
Right. So it sounds like to me that you're saying that it was a process of you saying, you know what, I'm going to stop looking at my father. I'm going to stop looking at my grandfather. I'm going to stop looking at everybody else that has contributed, that I believe has contributed to all this hurt, pain, anger, shame, rejection that I'm feeling. And I'm going to start looking to God. Because what does God say? He says he is our father. We are adopted into his kingdom. We are his daughters. We are his queens. We are his princesses. We are his treasure in this earth. And until we learn how to understand what that means for us, we'll be stuck in blaming everybody else.
And another important thing, too, was that I learned when I started studying my Bible was that how could I ever expect God to forgive me for everything that I've done if I can't forgive others?
Right.
So
Right.
that was an eye opener.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
that's good. That's huge. So, Dana, what is one of your personal testimonies from your teenage years that you've overcome?
One thing I overcame recently actually was my anger
Your anger
and my depression. Yes.
Okay.
Honestly, it was depression and anger was a very, very big thing for me. Because I was the type where I, didn't want to get suspended for 7 weeks in school for fighting. I didn't want to go home and discipline my parents for fighting.
You were fighting? Let me find out. Oh, okay. You didn't want to do those
Yeah,
things.
I didn't.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
I said we need to talk after the show.
I'm a lover, not a fighter, I promise. It's where I was so nice and everything, and I was just too afraid to have all this anxiety to, lash out and, and get them back or whatever for like jumping me, and I've been jumped so many times in my life, and and fighting all the time, and even having to like eat my lunch in the school bathrooms and stuff like that,
Wow.
and everything, my whole entire high school career, I'm gonna call it, because people were threatening to jump me, people were threatening, like men were even trying to, well, guys then were trying to, fight me as well over something stupid that happened in high school, of course, rumors, and I just held everything in. I put it on myself, and I would cry myself to sleep. I had a huge depression where I was cutting myself, and that was horrible because I still have the scars from that today. Even with that, a lot of people don't understand with cutting, and it sounds weird, but if you have tattoos or whatever, you understand it. When you feel that pain, then that
pain from the cut.
Yeah. Then that internal pain that you feel like emotionally, it goes away a little bit. It lightens up because you kind of feel like you deserved it.
Wow.
And I would sit there for an hour, and I wouldn't even have anxiety of doing it to myself, but I just needed to feel that. I needed to feel that, okay, this is going to be okay. You know what I mean? This is like, I needed this to just feel better. With tattoos, people would say, okay, well, it'll be a great time to get a tattoo because like, I'm depressed or I'm angry or whatever. You need to feel that pain.
So is it almost like because I'm out of touch with the feeling of the hurt and the pain that people have inflicted on me, the kids in school, and I felt like I've had to suppress that. I need to be able to feel something.
Yep, because you started to feel numb a little bit, and and with me, that's where my anger started to get worse because I was putting everything on myself and I should be really releasing it out to the people that caused it. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to leave. I wanted to destroy the world. I wanted to burn it up, and I just wanted to die. I really wanted to go. So it was like all that anger and that depression I had when it carried into my adulthood.
Right.
And that's when I started fighting. And it was actually right after high school. And I just started, every time somebody said something to me wrong or looked at me wrong, definitely female, it was like, why are you looking at me like that? When they could be looking past me and I'm looking at
right,
me.
and you just
And I would type with them like, well, you got a problem? You know what I mean? Like, and it was now that little girl who was so quiet, now she's sitting there, she's a lion now. Now she wants to fight everybody.
Right.
I had to really push back from that. And honestly, it's because really you, that's one thing.
Who's that?
You.
Oh.
Because you really helped me out, and that's why you're in my life. I know. I'm gonna cry, sorry.
Yes, and I don't want to get mushy on the show
Yes.
either. So back to the testimony.
Yes, but also like just praying and having a lot of support from my family, well, my mom really, because nobody else really is into God like she is, and also just pushing myself to go and get into church because I had it's like a little light that I was trying to light up, and I couldn't get it. I was trying to start that fire, I couldn't get it. And then when I got older, something just clicked, a light bulb went off, and I went to church every Saturday. I was fine. And it was just like, I can feel God around me now. I can feel him in my life.
Wow. So instead of feeling that cut, instead of feeling that hurt, that pain, that shame, and that rejection, now you are able to feel the love of God.
Yep.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So we are going to continue this discussion. We are going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more Mentality Makeover for Teenage Girl.
We have the power within ourselves.
the Real Bold Truth Show and our special segment edition, the Mentality Makeover for Teens. And before we went to break, Dana Barnett was sharing with us a very, very powerful, earth-moving, spirit-moving testimony about her experience as a teen. And Shayla wanted to actually add on, as she was hearing Dana, she wanted to add on. So Shayla, what would you have to say?
Yes, thank you. So basically, with you, right, when you would say that you would feel that you had to cut yourself to relieve you of that pain. And I know that maybe you can relate that it gave you relief then, but afterwards the problem didn't really change, right? You still felt the same way. And with me, with my situation, you know, I didn't necessarily want to hurt myself. And the enemy is so deceiving that sometimes, you know, you could be damaging your own life and you don't even know it because you're like, well, this isn't hurting me, right? You don't think it's hurting you. So with my relief, I was having sex, you know, and I was, you know, fornicating with different men. And to me, my hurt was, okay, well, if I'm doing this for you and if I'm, you know, giving you my life, I'm doing what a woman is supposed to be doing, and you're still not satisfying my needs, you're still not treating me the way that I'm supposed to be treated, right? And I had no idea that that was stemming from me looking for my father figure in those men, you know? But even after, you know, having sex with those men, I still wouldn't feel that satisfaction after.
That void was still there.
It was still there.
Temporary satisfaction, right?
Yep. And that was, it took me a long time to understand what I was doing and why I was doing it.
Right.
And, you know, up until I got married to the right man, you know, that you realize no one else can be your father, you know, but God.
And no one else can fill any void.
Exactly.
But God.
Exactly.
I mean, we can't even repeat that enough. It's not until you recognize that everything that you are pursuing of, everything that you're in need of, everything that you think that you have been denied of, it cannot be fulfilled but in God. Those non-tangible things, I mean, it's not in money, it's not in men, it's not in material things, all things in Christ Jesus, right? Right. So thank you so much for sharing those things. So I want to talk a little bit about how important it is for mentorship in your life. I know for me, mentorship was critical because, as both of you know, and the reason why the Real Bold Truth platform was birthed was out of my own pain, my own hurt, my own experience of more than 2 decades with depression. So it wasn't until mentorship came into my life when I started to evolve, when this new Chanel that I didn't even know existed began to emerge. And I just started loving her. Like, wow, where has she been all my life? Okay. And I give all the credit to mentorship. So Dana, how important is mentorship for you?
It's important to me now a lot. Before, I guess I could say my mom was my mentor as well. I didn't really notice that until I started getting older in high school. I just looked at her more as a best friend I can confide in and stuff. But she did help me a lot through a lot of my things. She took my pain and wore it as her own. And that helped me out a lot. Also with getting older with you, I always told you too as well. I look at you as my mentor as well. I am starting to see myself, my future self in you. And that's why God brought us brought us together, closer together at the right time, because this is when I need you now.
The hold the tissue is not here, so I'm going to try not to go there. But Shayla, how important is mentorship for you?
I believe it's very important.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because we need fellowship. Right? And sometimes not even just mentorship from other women, but men as well, you know? And you always want to test the spirits to make sure they're of God.
They're the right one, absolutely.
You want the right. You want the right.
Both. I mean, that's both men and women.
Yes, both. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But I think it helps you grow. And one thing that I can say is that we have to stop being offended when people are trying to help us become who we're supposed to be.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And with me, I mean, my mom always told it how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew when she sat me down and she said, we got to pray first, that she was about to tell me something that I didn't want to
She
hear.
get ready to go
Yes,
in, right?
yes. So I didn't submit to her, though. I learned to submit to the spirit in her, the spirit of God.
Oh, that's
in her.
huge.
Yes.
Yep.
So, you know, you can't look at it as, you know, well, I don't want this person telling me what to do, or this person thinks they know all that. No, it's God in them that's trying to help you grow.
Right.
And that's what I think is important, you know, because sometimes when you're just starting off, you don't know how to hear from God.
Right.
You know, so God will put people in your life to help you grow in your relationship with him. So that's what I think is very important.
Because as a teenager, right, you already think you know everything, right?
Yeah.
You already know everything. Can't nobody tell you nothing. Older people, they just old, they're disconnected, they don't know what you know. But it takes time to go through some stuff.
It does.
You go through some stuff before you say, oh my goodness, she warned me that this point was going to come. He warned me that, oh my God, that I'm going to hit this roadblock right here. And then you remember. And then isn't it funny how God will end up turning you right back to those people to say, you know what, now I'm humble. Now let me sit at your feet. Now let me learn. Now pour into me because I'm open. Right? Right. Yeah, that's good. So tell me, now that you both are adults now and you got your teenage years behind you a little bit, I'm pretty sure some residue of those years may be still on you, good, bad, or indifferent. What do you think is the most challenging thing to experience as you're transitioning from being a teen to an adult? Dana?
For me, now as an adult, I can be more stronger. I'm way more closer to God. I didn't have a close relationship with him like I do now back then. So that's definitely helping me. When I get in those dark thoughts, I get that good space. I think about what we talked about. I also think about I watch that. I sit there and just pray. But I already say to myself, God knows my past, my present, and my future.
Okay.
And I'm already secure in his blood.
All right now. So that's that maturity that is developed, that you know how to now deal with that mind and that mental and that spiritual aspect of you that was out of control. You just let whatever the first thing that dropped in your mind in the morning just entertain you and rule your entire day. But now as you're getting older, you know how to plead the blood of Jesus. You know how to call out his name. You know how to develop new habits in order to have your thoughts line up with his. Right. That's good. What about you, Shayla?
For me, I would say, and I think this is for both teens, young adults, and parents also, because as parents, you have to pay attention to your children. And sometimes I feel like with me specifically, I think my mom just kind of thought that I just knew how to live life.
Right.
And of course, I've learned from her a great example, but there was a lot of things that I didn't know, that I didn't even know to ask.
Right.
Right. So I think when you're going from teenagehood to adulthood, you're thinking, okay, you're going from high school, if you go to college or if you go into the work field, there's a lot that you don't know. And not just so much spiritually, really, but just that there's a real world out there. You got to make real decisions, take responsibility for certain things, whether it be bills, finances, going to class on time in college, stuff like that you don't think about. But I think that challenge was being ready for the real world.
Right.
That was something that I kind of learned as I went.
Okay.
And, I wish I was more prepared for that.
Wow. Well, we are getting ready to wrap up the show, but what I want to challenge both of you to do is to look in that camera individually and speak to the heart of a teenage girl that is looking at this right now. What would you say to her? What encouraging words would you say to her? Dana?
What I would say is that no matter what you're going through, no matter how you feel, what you think, any obstacles that life throws at you, you are greater than what you think. And the thing is that God puts you in situations that He knows you can handle it, and it's to help you and make you stronger when you start growing more in life. But also it's to help you get closer to Him, because that's exactly what you need. So always stay close.
That's good. Shayla?
For me, I would say to remember to seek His will and be honest and real with God just like you would any other person, and just speak to him like a friend and like the father that you never had, and allow him to be your teacher. And with that, remember that you have a story to tell, that you can help others with the situations that you've been through, and that there's hope and there's freedom in God.
That is awesome. Thank you both so much for your time, for your truthfulness, for being real. This has been an awesome experience. We are going to wrap up the show. And as always, I encourage you to be real, stay bold, and tell the truth in Jesus' name.